Hello, everybody. Making sure the mic's working. I think we fixed it. Should be working this time. Let me know if it is before we get too far. Is it working perfect? Okay, good. Good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday night. It's yeah, better than Monday night. So we are ready for the weekly show. So thank you for being here. If you guys are new, my name is Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. And I just want to say hello. Thank you for being here. If you are new, this is the Thursday show. 9:32 tonight, but generally speaking, 9:30. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Ray Epps is still a Fed, in my opinion. And then the big thing tonight is the implosion of. Well, I think this is the beginning of the end for the RICO case in Georgia, and literally, hasn't even gone to trial yet, and a couple people got slaps on the wrist, and then it looks like it's all done. So we'll get to that. I know it's one of these weeks where I know a lot of people have already covered a lot of things, but this week I just did not have time getting to it. I was busy trying to do real stuff, and yeah, we'll see what happens. So before we get too far, we try to take about 10 minutes, let people catch up and get in here, and in that time, we need to look at hello to everybody out there on Rumble, Kick, Twitch, still there on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And then last but not least, Locals. If you guys aren't aware of Locals, Locals is basically a version of Patreon that doesn't screw with you, doesn't care what you say, will let you say what you need to say, and doesn't politically censor anyone. And that's over at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. We have a page there. You can join it to be a member. It is free. Once you're there, there's a main page. Things get posted. I'll post videos. I can post articles, things that are going on. If you're a member, you can also do that as well. And then if you wish to support me, and once again, it's no obligation, but it is $3 a month. That's the least they let me charge. You get 10 months free, or pay for 10 months. You get 2 months free, not the other way around. Pay for 2 months, get 10 months free. Damn, that'd be the worst business decision ever. That'd be a Tiger King move. You pay for 10 months, you get 2 months free. A lot. What you get for that, we do 2 weekly shows. I do a Monday night show, about 8:30 or so usually, and we hang out. Lately, we've been going almost, at least 2 hours, almost the full 3 hours that Locals lets us stream. And then from there, we also do a show every Thursday night after this show. So, like R. Kelly just says, after the show, it's the after party. And after the party, it's the hotel lobby. So we get to hang out, have a lot of fun, talk about stuff that we didn't get to here, and do that. And then right now, actually, there's also a live chat that's going. And I wanted to say to Jim, congratulations on being first. And it looks like it was a race to the bottom there. And already all kinds of great images that I don't really want to ever see again. So, oh no. Yeah, well, oof. Not enough bleach in the world. So that is over at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. If you're not sure about it, you can use the promo code criminal, get 1 month free, no obligation. You might have a fun time with that. So that is there. But let's get to the most important place. Who got first over on Rumble? Well, over on Rumble, it was a job well done. He says, if Jack helped you off a horse, would you help Jack off a horse? I mean, you have to be nice. You have to reciprocate. That's the kind of world we like to live in. What would you like to have happen if you were Jack? And then the big one, who got first in the big show in the main event? Who came out of the red corner swinging? It was Garrett Pace with who brought it up, Sean? You know what? very very subtle reference to some things that have happened in the past. So very subtle, very impressed, very proud of that. Oh, I didn't realize this little EBS streaming was he's burning down Comicsgate. Okay. Mystery Sniper says locals. Yeah, I got locals going. Bucket Blood says whoever does our vows. And if you guys weren't aware, last Saturday we had an engagement stream. Future Mrs. Mark 2.0 and I were officially engaged, so that's all done. Now we got to worry about a date. But yes, so been talking about like having super chats in the middle of the wedding, like it's Fish Tank, and you can do vows or do something. And yes, somebody needs to say answer the question after every vow. Okay, let's see here. Garrett says, I don't understand how people can watch Dim Tool. I don't either, but hey, good on him. He's made it work. So it'd be Pim Tool. Just saying. Okay, let's see here. Yes, Leighton Gay. Hey, Sniper, how you doing? J-Rock says, felted. Yes, felted, yes. Let's see, says, I'm digging my own tunnels. You know what? As much as... Okay, I'll be straight up about this, even though the guy's not straight. When I first started watching this, I was completely... The whole Troon thing, and if you guys haven't noticed on TikTok, there was somebody named Kayla or Kala and was coming off as this like weird autistic lady digging a tunnel underneath her house. Well, it turns out it was a Troon. Surprise. But I was more focused on them digging the tunnel, which, given that it's a Troon, more than one tunnel's been dug in that situation. But I was just impressed with that because this, there were some basic skills that were there. Not the engineering thing, and I'm not an engineer, but I kind of looked at some of that and I'm like, that's kind of ghetto rigged. But there were some things that were done right. Like, he was laying the block correctly, doing some things that, okay, for a woman, that was actually kind of impressive. But yes, it turns out it was a Troon all along, and he may have mined underneath the adjoining properties, which is a no-no because, believe it or not, at least in America, when you own the land, if the subsurface minerals and subsurface states have not been sold off, which you can do, you own from the, your square little piece of land all the way down to the center of the earth. Yeah. So if your mineral rights haven't been given away, your minerals can't be taken away from you. But if somebody's already sold your mineral rights, you don't own those areas, like those stratifications in the geological pattern. So they that wasn't an issue. They haven't gotten down that far. It is interesting, though, to see the actual geologist and the rock hounds out there saying apparently the area that this is all being dug in is horribly unstable and the rock is literally like decaying and falling apart as it's getting exposed to air. So I have a feeling it's going to be a tranny tomb very soon, the Troon tomb. But yes, but it's a tunnel. Like when you're a kid, I remember I've dug holes before. You're just digging a hole to dig. And then after you get a little older, you're like, digging, and it becomes a foxhole. And you're like, foxhole's cool. You dig a little bit more, and that foxhole becomes like a trench. And you dig a little bit more, and that trench becomes a bunker. And you know what? Bunkers are cool. Lots of cool people have had bunkers throughout history. So just saying. Bunkers are never bad. Garrett says, Leighton, former mayor of Gary, Indiana. Leighton Transportation Secretary. Real Hodge PX says, now you have to kiss Mandy. I would literally nuke my entire thing. I would nuke this channel. I would nuke everything if that had to happen. Just saying. Let's see here. What else? Nico says, Metachromatics kiss for 50 Mandy's. Whoa! And Thug says this dude has a lot of edge weapons in his background. I got a couple. I mean, technically, like the German longsword, that's a practice one. But yeah, I mean, it's technically an edged weapon. I mean, it's more, I got the actual weapons behind there. Jacob saying not live on Rumble. I don't know. Rumble's not working. Rumble chat's working though, isn't it? Rumble's not live yet. Guys, and then I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what the problem is over on Rumble. I set it all up. Um, hold on here. Let me see. I just tried something. Let me know if that fixed it. If that doesn't fix it, I don't know what the problem is. Unhung Hero for $2. Thank you. Thank you. Says, I'm gonna come. Don't come. Don't come. That's a shame, says, oh, and referring to the tunneler. I knew there was a way. No, there was no way a female did that shit. Well, it was really hard when you watched it because like it's goofy looking, which kind of perked the radar, but the speech pattern and the accent struck me as okay. Well, it's somebody who's not an English primary. English is their primary language, and they have some sort of autism thing. Like I just thought it was just a really autistic chick. But yes, it is. Yeah. And Velia says yes, the masculine urge to dig tunnels and build. Yes. Sniper's Nest says that's not true. Once you cross the Mississippi, water and mineral rights are separate by default because assholes. Well, the water rights are a separate thing. Yeah, water out west is an entirely different world. And if you guys don't know that, I mean, like in some places you can't collect rainwater. That's how crazy things are. The mineral rights, though, I didn't realize that mineral rights were automatically severed, but yeah, I guess that could be. J Rock for $2 says, "You brought it up, Sean." And then I get that shower call. No, I did not. No, I did not. Parallax says, "Oh, you like bunkers?" He's like that kid. "Oh, you like bunkers? Name me the cool people that have bunkers." Yes, and Claude says, "Yeah, Archie had a bunker. Yes, he did. Yes, he did." Oh, and then Carrie's been a member for 3 months. Thank you, Carrie, for your support. Says Sean is bad. He is what it is. Although, is that like bad? Like Michael Jackson? Like I'm bad. I don't really know any other part of that song. So, follow us for $2. Apparently, in response on here, it says, "No, I'm gonna come." Well, and Carrie for $1.99. Thank you, Carrie. Is saying Sean is stupid, or shing stupid. And JXC 8489 says, "Wow, shocking." Yeah, shocking. So, all right, guys, it is time. We are almost 15 minutes. Wow, went a little longer than expected there. But let's get to it. Let's get to it. And so, Rumble guys, I did a couple of things. Let me know, is it working yet? Okay, Rumble's working live now. Perfect. Okay, let's start off with something funny because there's enough serious crap to get us going for a while. Johhny Somali, our man in Japan. Sadly, not Max Mira or Mean Copium, but our man in Japan, Johhny Somali, just being a good boy who didn't do nothing wrong, who spent his time antagonizing the shit out of the Japanese people. Well, what the hell? Why can't I? quit that thing running. Nobody wants to see that garbage. So Johhny Somali spent his time going around Japan, doing various things while streaming. He's a kick streamer. Now in Japan, it's a very, very conservative society. You are not supposed to go running around streaming in public. You're not allowed to film people without the permission, their consent. That is a big thing for the Japanese people, but also you're not supposed to go out there and just act like an ass and go cause problems and be a Yahoo. They don't tolerate that. Well, Johhny also went around with various things like a Bluetooth speaker at different points, playing like an anime girl having sex sound. He went around a couple different places, going Hiroshima, Nagasaki, which, okay, great. Yes, we won the World War. We opened up canned sunshine on Japan twice. Yes, Colonel Paul Tibbets was the bringer of the dawn to modern Japan, if you want to call it that. He was the true emperor, revealing the sunshine upon the Japanese people. But that was 80 some years ago. It's a sore subject for them, and they don't like talking about it. And here's the thing: it's their country, so guess what? You have to follow their rules. In addition to that, he also had filmed himself walking around on a construction site at night, which you'd think would just be like trespassing, but in Japan it was considered burglary, and basically a bunch of other crimes of being a douchebag in public. Well, Johhny has spent weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks in Japanese jail and finally had his trial and his sentencing. So he was mainly dealing with the stupid antics that he had, okay? So his real name is Ramzi Khalid Ismail. And he's on Kick, and yeah, we already talked about that. So he had actually been assaulted by people. People in Japan had tried to kick his ass, which, people in Japan are not going to like it if you screw around in their country. Like that's a risk you take. And those people did not get charged. Why? Well, they were upholding the standards of their community. They were Jannies in real life, though, so that doesn't make them disgusting. They're actually pretty cool, regulating out in public. So he was warned that he would get, they warned him, like, quit fucking around or you're going to get in trouble. And he spent weeks in jail. And even though he's a U.S. citizen, okay, so what? So he, in December, he got, he vowed to, stop breaking the rules, and they were going to fine him like $1,400. Well, he was officially fined for that amount, and the trespassing charges against him, the felonies, were dropped, which is good for him because going to jail or prison in Japan, not a good look. It's a very bad place. Now, there's no official issue about whether or not Johhny Somali is getting deported. As far as things are concerned, he could be deported, and he might be banned entry from Japan going forward. Countries have that right. You can be declared persona non grata. You're not welcome here anymore. And he could be banned from the country from re-entry for any number of years or forever. Every country has that right. The U.S. will ban people from deny entry to people. And in Japan, somebody like this, sure, it's not violent crime or a person who has done issues, but to them, this was a big problem. This was an embarrassment. This was horrible for their society. They don't want dumb fucks like him running around. So they can easily say, sorry, you're not coming back because you're an asshole. And we're not sure yet, but I don't blame the Japanese for wanting to get rid of him. The sad part is if they get rid of him, he's coming back here and, So we don't know yet what's going to happen to him. But he was fined $1,400, which is like 75 million yen. So it sounds scary, but yeah, not too bad. So that is the, Johhny might be marching home again soon. We don't know yet. Fuck says deport him to the ocean. Oh. Trot Golfer. Hey, Trot, how you doing? Says America needs to ban him. We don't want him back. Keep him over there. That would be, well, he is a U.S. citizen, and I believe he's a natural-born U.S. citizen, so his citizenship can't be stripped in this situation. That's something you can't do in the situation. There are times where you can lose your citizenship. This isn't one of them. And it is a very, 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 very narrowed subset of ways that could happen. And I don't believe they've actually been tried, but they're in the immigration code and it sounds like it could happen. So we haven't even gotten that far yet in the law. And also, I wouldn't like that idea if you are a natural born, or even just if you're a naturalized citizen, screwing around another country and then they revoke your citizenship here. It should not something easily be done. Panzer Dude says Japan likes America more than Americans do. Yeah, sure. So let's see here. What else were you guys saying here? I'm trying to catch up to these. Anything goes says Japanese prison seems rough. Yes. I mention this all the time. There's a TV series that it's on YouTube now. Somebody's ripped it and put it on here. It's called Locked Up Abroad. In Japan, you sit all when you're not working, you have to sit in the middle of your prison cell and just crisscross applesauce and stare at the wall in front of you. You don't get to lay down. You don't get to do stuff. And if you're not, sitting there staring at the wall in front of you, they'll come in and beat you. Basically, Japan is it's very much like the early, Andy Dufresne's first couple of days of Shawshank. Whatever you do, they beat you, and they beat you severely. And then if you don't know the Japanese language on top of it, so you can understand their commands, they'll beat you, and they'll keep beating you. So yeah, Japan is not a fun place to go. I wouldn't want to go there for prison. I will say the only thing in their correction system I think is unique is that if you are sentenced to death, which Japan still does, they still do hangings in Japan, you don't know the date of your execution until you wake up that morning. So it could be a while. You just don't know the day, and then you wake up and they notify you today is your day. That is interesting. I think that is a weird way of doing it. I just think it's very interesting. So Allegan News, catch up and see super chats real quick. Allegan News for $1.99. Thank you. It's good to see you as well. Saying, who knew the Jews were part of the Sandhog Union? Yes, I know. I talked about this on Monday. Yes, there is I think I might do a video on that, just about the tunneling issues, and obviously you can't just dig underneath someone's property, your neighbors. But yes, there was a Hasidic community up in New York. Not Joe. Remember, there's like the Reformed Jews, like American Jews. Then there's Orthodox Jews, like our friend Joe. Then there's the Hasids. And the Hasidic community is like, they look at the other two as posers. And they're even more, they're like ultra Orthodox. And a bunch of them they've been digging tunnels. It's very, very weird. And actually, technically, they weren't the ones digging tunnels. They had hired migrant labor to come in and dig their tunnels, which... Oh, they pulled a page out of the Egypt playbook there, out of Exodus. So, yeah, yes. And Carrie says for $1.99 they wouldn't let me write stupid. Okay, well, I'm sorry. It's not my call. That is theirs. I'm not, Patrick, we're not talking about that. Yes, you should still be a citizen, even if that happens. Okay. Making a lot of simple says, what happened to Georgia and Trump? We're actually going to get to that. We're going to get to that after Ray Epps, because this is going to be good. But David, yes, hello. If you guys are not aware, Making Law Simple over here on YouTube has a lot of great shows, has a lot of great people on. He's going to be covering the Crumbly trials. Actually, he's going to be doing he's going to be doing the law and crime thing, where he's got his own cameras in the courtroom, and we'll have them all set up, which will be really cool. So that way it'd be funny. Court TV tries to say, you're stealing our feed. It's David's going to have his own feed for the Crumbley trial. You guys aren't aware, the parents of Ethan Crumbley are still going to trial coming up for whether or not they contributed to the murder of those churdlins at the schools. So you guys give him a look. It's a very good channel. And hello, David. Panzer Dude says, Sean, why did you lie to Joe? Never lied to Joe. Joe's a great guy. He didn't do nothing wrong. Bernie says good logic is rushing to New York to defend the tunnels. Yes. Oh, David saying the court denied my cameras. They said local ABC affiliate is the only one allowed to have cameras. I'm not happy. And he says still fighting with the court. I would just make the court clarify that no one has copyright over it. And just have, if you could get that in an order, that would be very impactful because then nobody could screw with it. So, Amateur Iconoclast says, David's like, fine, I'll build my own courtroom feed with blackjack and hookers. Yes. All right, guys, we need to get on to we talked about this last week. Ray Epps is a Fed. If he's not a Fed, you're fooling me. You're really fooling me because this really seems like what would happen to a Fed. He is one of he proudly proclaims he helped orchestrate what was going on the ground. And we talked about it last week, was at the front of all the altercations and issues going forward on January 6th as that crowd started marching towards the Capitol. One of the people, it's famous, he whispered in the ear of Ryan Samsel. You could see him whisper, and then Ryan goes buck wild on the police. So the FBI the DOJ in their sentencing memorandum to the court said, well, Judge, take it easy on him because unlike everybody else, well, he's a really nice guy. He's a good boy, and everybody thinks he's a Fed. And because everybody thinks he's a Fed, well, you should treat him very, very properly and treat him how we would ask you to treat a Fed asset. Makes you wonder, though. And you guys keep saying, Epps is an informant or he works with DHS. That's been, from what I understand, the way that it's been denied, he has never worked for or has never been in the pay or the control of the United States government other than his time when he was in the Marines. Which means, as I think is the case, well, if it's not the U.S. government, who else could it be? Well, other governments. Because if you're in the control of MI5, MI6, GCHQ, the BND, insert whatever organization is out there, if you are in the control of those groups, technically you're not under U.S. control. So you could be basically a glowy Fed and doing that, or you could be working for, now they said the FBI and whatnot, but there's other intelligence agencies out there. Then there's the Army has counterintelligence. The Navy has the Office of Naval Intelligence. There's all kinds of groups that it's not clear that Ray Epps has thoroughly been disavowed. Could he be Mossad? Yeah, sure. Let's throw Mossad in there. Truck Golfer says, so he's just my neighbor. Well, your neighbor's got some questions that, your neighbor's got some questions to answer. I'll say it like that. So Ray Epps was sentenced this week. He was sentenced on Tuesday. And I guess we'll just get straight to it because we have it available. So this is the case of, and if we get to the top, it is the district. This is the PACER information for James Ray Epps Sr. versus the United States of America versus Ray Epps. And his case was assigned to the chief judge down in D.C. And we have the disposition. So this is all the stuff, including his sweetheart deals, everything that was set up. So what did Ray Epps get? Well, he didn't have to show up to court. He proceeded via Zoom. That's nice. That's really nice. I like that. I like that. Hell, judge is super nice letting that guy show up like that. So Ray got a sentence of 12 months probation. Okay. Apparently no jail time. Just probation. For the guy who claims to have been the orchestrator of it, leading it, being involved in the assaults on multiple police officers, and as the DOJ admits in their sentencing memorandum, he committed and engaged in felonious activity. He has to pay a $25 special assessment and restitution totaling $500. That's it. And he was informed of his rights to appeal, which I guarantee at this rate, the way the clown world is, he gets to appeal, and the DC Court of Appeals like, yeah, this is an unfair sentence. Not guilty. Case is thrown out. So that's it. Yeah, makes you. Oh, it's truly a justice system. Which, it's always interesting when you look at the other crimes people have committed. For example, just what do you do? What do you do with that? What do you do with this? Because there's no. I mean, we could look at something that happened similar, like some people committing crimes and how they get treated by the government. I mean, being an assault on a democracy. Well, recently the U.S. government had a Navy sailor sentenced to 27 months in prison, just over 2 years, for transmitting sensitive military information to the Chinese intelligence community. Okay, like. That's some serious stuff right there. Engaging in espionage, like real sedition. Undermining the national security of the United States and its partners. Okay. Like serious stuff. He transmitted plans for large-scale maritime exercises, meaning he's telling the enemy, hey, this is how they're planning to do stuff. Operational orders and diagrams for a radar system. Like the stuff you would want to know if you're going to war with somebody. That stuff. Okay, that got him 27 months. Meanwhile, and this is the list of the Proud Boys, who, what did they get and what happened to them? Enrique Tarrio got 22 years. Joseph Biggs got 17 years. Zachary Rail got 15. Ethan Nordine got 18. Look at all these guys. Stuart Rhodes got 18 years in prison. Kelly Meggs got 12 years in prison. These guys got all this time in prison. Owen Schroyer, he was considered to have been agitating the crowd. Had to go to prison for 60 days. But somebody like Ray Epps, the guy who orchestrated it, proudly orchestrated it. No, oh no, you get probation, buddy. Have a good one. Other people doing the same thing he did got hammered. Why? Well, because he's a heckin' boomer, and because people thought he was a Fed, we're gonna treat him like a Fed. So that's the yeah. I mean, look at this fucking turd. Yeah, Ray, that's it. I just called you that. Ray, you are a turd. Ray Epps, Sr., you are a turd. Humanity will always know you as a turd. I'm sure that's how Ray looks at the truck stop every night. So if you guys weren't aware, yep, he basically gets probation. So maybe there's justice in the world, but it's not man's justice. That's a sad part. And Brimstone over in Locals does point out, yes, Enrique Tarrio was a former federal informant. He had helped snitch out before, so karma's kind of a bitch there. I get that, and yes, he was involved in doing Fed boy stuff, so I don't feel too bad for him. It's just, it's not the way I like it. Just not the way I like it for it to happen. Alpha Fox saying, he's like, I'm a contractor. Yeah, well. Brimstone says all the intel agencies are full of pedos. Probably. Even the FBI is full of pedos. Jim is saying if he's an undercover or a knock, they don't have to admit it in court. Sure, and that's the thing too. But I also think there's, I think there's smarter ways they've probably done that. It's easier for him to be being in the control over being handled by a different group. Then it just doesn't cause any problems for them. They can truly hide it. But it could be if he's not official cover. That's what knock means, like deep cover. Yeah. Allegan News for $4.99 is saying, and this is about Ray Epps. But Sean, he had to move into his RV and sell his business. That isn't punishment enough. Living in your RV with your wife on a permanent road trip. I know. So tough. It's so tough for Ray. Being a boomer and you're retired and you run around your RV. It's like, wow. It's almost like that's what boomers do when they retire. So. Panzer Dude says he was chased out of his town, Sean. Chased out by geese. Honk, honk. Angry geese. Yes. Charlie says they should have made him wear a baldo for a year. Yeah. And Mr. Swiggle says makes it feel like they were trying to rub it in our noses. Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it. So yeah, that's just, yeah, that's great. Netflutter says, according to the government, he only orchestrated a riot, not the insurrection that everyone else is guilty of. Yes. And if you guys do remember, and that's a good point you brought up, when we read through his sentencing memorandum the feds put together, it was all talking about a riot. There was no insurrection. There weren't oath-breaking seditionists. It was an assault on democracy. No, it was just a riot. It was a kerfluffle. Things got a little out of hand. So that is the difference there. That is the difference, I guess. Now, David, I know you were at MLS. You're asking about this. Yes, the Georgia case, the RICO case, the RICO Suave case against Trump and everybody else is starting to implode. And we already knew that was going to happen. I remember we talked about that looking through the indictment, that monstrous, disgusting thing that Fani Willis put together. We talked about that before, like, hey, this just doesn't seem right. It's not going to work. How is this going to work? Well, we also saw the Young Thug RICO trial going on, and we saw that's been a complete disaster, an unmitigated disaster. Well, one of the parties named in the Trump RICO case fired a monstrous shot across the bow. And this is targeting Fani Willis and the special prosecutor she appointed. And that guy is a guy named Nathan Wade. And we're going to talk about them real quick. So what you guys need to understand here for this is, where is it? So this is Nathan Wade. If you guys have never seen him before, this is the guy who's been appointed to be the special prosecutor for the Trump RICO case. He is the guy Fani Willis designated. And I'm trying to, there was a good picture of the two of them. Yeah, here's a good picture. This is Fani Willis. And this is Nathan Wade. This is, I think, around that time where they actually made the indictments and they're now above the law. Okay. Since then, The defense for one of the parties involved, a guy named Michael Roman, and that's him here, through his attorney, has filed a banger of a motion. And the motion is to dismiss the grand jury indictment as fatally defective and to disqualify the district attorney and her office and the special prosecutor from further prosecuting the matter. So this is a nuke. It's not only saying the grand jury indictment is fatal and defective, but they're also saying the prosecutor shouldn't be here, their entire office should be banned, and the special prosecutor should be removed. Now, we're going to move on because the big issues here are ultimately around Fani Willis and a relationship with Nathan Wade. So they talk about why this entire prosecution is invalid and unconstitutional. And ultimately, the reason why they want to get rid of everybody, there's massive conflicts of interest, but because Fani Willis never had the legal authority to appoint Nathan Wade as a special prosecutor. And that's an issue that we're going to get to because there's some ethics issues for Nathan Wade going forward that might be a problem for him. It's also interesting that for this case here, Michael Roman's attorney points out that the grand jury didn't recommend an indictment or any charges against him. The district attorney and Willis and Wade went ahead and made that charging decision on their own. So it is very interesting that happened. And once again, that's why I'm glad I live in the state of Ohio, where you cannot be charged with a felony if the grand jury doesn't charge you. The grand jury declines, all they can charge them with are misdemeanors. So thank God I live in a state that doesn't allow nonsense like this. So they point out that the district attorney and the special prosecutor have been engaged in an improper and clandestine personal relationship during the pendency of this case, which has resulted in the special prosecutor and Fani Willis profiting significantly from this prosecution at taxpayers' interest. And they violated the laws regulating the use of monies, public funds, and there's a conflict of interest that can't be fixed. Now, I will say there's some proof in here, but I will mention that on Twitter, there are attorneys who practice in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and they point out the attorney who filed this doesn't do this stuff for, she's very serious business. And when she does something, she generally, she doesn't jump off half-cocked. When she makes a move, she's got her, she crossed her T's and dotted her I's. So this is very likely legit information and allegations. So they point out that this undermines the public confidence in the outcome of this proceeding, and it will. And we'll get to what those problems are. So ultimately, the issues are the way this worked back in 2021. Fani Willis went to the Fulton County Board of Commissioners and said, hey, I need money to clear up the backlog from COVID. There's so many cases, and if you don't, defendants have speedy trial issues, and they're all going to run free. So she got a ton of funding for it. Well, she never used that funding for that purpose. She didn't hire more prosecutors. She then started using money and funding to build this case against Trump. So that's the first problem. The second problem is, under Georgia law, she was required to obtain approval before she appointed a special prosecutor to work on the case. And that's just because they don't want the prosecutor unilaterally spending all kinds of money and doing all kinds of stuff without any oversight. So as they point out, it's under Georgia law. They point out that there's been no evidence the district attorney got approval from the county to hire this guy. Then for Nathan Wade, there are some big problems here for him. One of the biggest ones is his oath of office has never been filed. Now, when you become a prosecutor, you do end up signing an oath of office. When I was an assistant prosecutor, I got sworn in by my boss, and you raise your right hand and you swear and abide to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Ohio, and uphold, Ohio law, and faithfully and ethically discharge your duties. I forget all of it, but you agreed to do that. You agreed to an oath because it is such a serious position and the power you wield. And I sign it, and it's put on file. Well, it was never filed. Well, you could say on one hand, well, that just sometimes stuff doesn't get filed. Oopsie poopsie. But it's everything else that Fani Willis and this guy did. It's not just an oopsie poopsie. It's a clear attempt to hide from the public he didn't have any legal authority. And why is that important? Well, if he didn't have legal authority, he's in court making representations. I am the special prosecutor. I am here on behalf of the state of Georgia. I'm issuing subpoenas in my position as special prosecutor that I'm not actually in. So you're putting out documents and you didn't have the right to do that. That's, well, some people might call that forgery or impersonation of an officer. He was granting immunity deals. Are those deals binding if he never had the authority to enter in them? I think that's an issue. But we'll get to some of those problems there. Now, there's also the big allegation here is that Fani and this guy were doinking and they were canoodling, and that as this guy was getting paid to go do things, him and Fani would go together on these trips. And at that point, she's no longer the district attorney. She's the guy. She's doinking the guy, and now it's an issue of personal gain. So they point out that the Fulton County never approved it. His oath was never filed prior to working on the case. He is, at the same time this is all going on, got a divorce in the neighboring county and was able to seal those records. They've obtained information that they went on travel places like Napa Valley in Florida in the Caribbean, that they went ahead and went on cruises. All the while, this guy is getting paid for his work as a special prosecutor. They've been seen in private, and they're believed to have been like shacking up. That they have an ongoing relationship during all of this proceedings. Then we get to the interesting parts here, that he's a special prosecutor. He's brought in to be the big guns for Fani. He's never tried a felony case. It doesn't appear he's ever tried a serious felony case ever. He was a judge who handled some misdemeanor matters, like very low-level misdemeanor stuff, but this guy has no real trial experience in criminal matters. So why did he get hired? Don't know. But once again, it's these issues about what are the problems here. Why didn't she seek approval for the appointment? That's a problem. And then we get to the big issue, the big one. Like it's it's like the aliens from Toy Story. They're pointing up at the claw. Since being appointed as special prosecutor, he's been paid an estimated $1 million in legal fees. That's a lot of consulting. I'm sure there was a lot of horizontal consulting. Like Nelly says, like with a little bit of with a little bit of I'm sure there was a lot of that. I'm sure there were some motions being filed. And they point out that for Fani, Fani makes $198,000 a year. And the way it works with a lot of these elected officials, you get your county pay, but then the state also pays you a little bit as well. That's not uncommon. That happens here in Ohio too. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. So she makes about 200 G's a year. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. And the budget for the office for 2022 was $31 million. Yeah, that's a pretty good budget. Why couldn't they know? What I do think is important here, and we're going to get to why do we know all of this stuff? Well, we got to get to the billing. And the billing is very revealing. How revealing? It's pretty revealing. So Exhibit D for D's nuts. And this is where we start. So this is a flyer from Fulton County in the Superior Court there. contract attorney assignments. And these are cases where there's a conflict of interest where the public defenders cannot handle a case. There might be multiple defendants, or let's say, for example, a man, or there's parties involved, and the victim was represented by the public defender. Well, that creates a conflict of interest, even if it's not the same public defender. They just avoid the appearance of impropriety, and then we'll bring in an outside attorney. Okay. So the rates range from $140 to $180 an hour. All right. So we got to zoom out a little bit better because you can read it better then. The tier 1, and that's the $140 an hour mark. Murder, rape, aggravated child molestation, aggravated sodomy, and sexual battery. You need a minimum 5 years experience as a trial attorney and at least 2 trials of similar offenses. And that's generally how things are done, even here in Ohio. If you want to be appointed counsel, court appointed, it's one thing to get court appointed for some low level, like a forgery offense, and you're facing 12 months in prison. Anybody can walk on and take those. If you're trying a case of rape involving a minor where there's a potential of a life sentence, life without parole, well, you need to have prior experience of trials of that similar level. And the same thing for murder offenses. And then in Ohio, for aggravated murder offenses, you have to be certified through the Supreme Court to be appointed to take those kinds of cases. They talk then here about tier 2, all other crimes against a person. So burglary, robbery, you name it, felony assault. You have to have minimum 3 years experience as a criminal trial attorney. Okay. You get paid $100 an hour. Say that's better than anywhere in Ohio. So that'd be, if the county in Ohio did that, holy cow, that'd be crazy. And then 3, all other felonies, a minimum of 3 months experience as a criminal trial attorney, which is that's kind of a low bar, and $80 an hour. Okay. So why did they bring that up? Well, because Nathan Wade has no experience as a felony defense attorney. That's the issue. He hasn't tried the hard stuff. But they're also showing you the equivalent rates of things. And we start off with this first contract that was executed. So and this is an agreement between the Fulton County District Attorney and Nathan Wade, PC. Okay? So this was executed on November 1st, 2021. And was meant to go to October 31st of 2022. A 1-year contract. So this is how far back Fani Willis was already working on this. And this, you guys are going to look at this and say this isn't a full agreement. And the defense team notices that, but they're working with what they have. So it's interesting. It was set for November 1st of 2021, but it wasn't signed until March of 2022. That's a little sloppy. That's a little sketch. Yeah, that's not a good look. They both signed the same day. Okay, I don't know if I like that. So we don't fully know everything. It appears his hourly rate for that first year was $250 an hour. Okay, but what were the limits? We don't know because that part of the contract is missing. So, okay, but what was he doing? And he was billing. Okay. So he billed for, he's billing consultant on pre-indictment anti-corruption issues. Okay. Whatever the heck that means. You don't have to when it comes to billing in the legal sphere, you don't have to explicitly write out everything you did. But you should be able to show I worked on, it depends on if you're, a client might say, well, if you're working multiple files for the same client. Yeah, I worked on this matter. Then I worked on that matter. Here's what I did. I got the filing ready. I did a bunch of research for, the Bob Boberson case. And then the Sally Suserman. I worked on, I interviewed a client. I interviewed a witness. You have to explain it. And this idea of just billing at straight hours, I don't know if that's where there's an issue of, is he billing in hourly blocks? Because if he is, the accepted standard practice is billing in tenths of an hour. That's a very common way of doing it, every 6 minutes. Some places I dealt with a client once. They wanted that, and they asked if we could bill it even better, more detailed. I don't know how much better you can get than 6 minutes every 3 minutes, but a tenth of an hour is a very common way of showing your billing if you have to do hourly billing. But this is just saying 8 straight hours. Okay, maybe it was 8 hours, period. We don't really know. Why don't we know? Because this is kind of sketchy and fast and loose. He prepared cases for a pretrial back in November of 2021. The indictment wasn't filed. They didn't bring the indictment until August of 2023. The fuck were they doing? What, we're preparing for a pretrial that's been like 2 years, almost 3 years in advance? Come on, Nate. This ain't looking good. Then you've got this problem here. A billing for 24 hours. Now, even for those of you who are flat earthers, I think you would agree, we have a 24-hour cycle for a day. How do you work 24 hours straight? You can't. Now, this is an issue of, is that what he meant? Is he trying to scam? I don't know. Is just this him saying, over a bunch of, like, I'm billing it for this day, but I worked on it 3 days prior? Who knows? This is poorly put together. This is not a well-detailed bill. So you're left wondering. So you get to go through all of these things here. What's going on? These are very vague. Discuss application of Georgia statutes. Okay, with who? And you did it for 6 hours. Well, what does that mean? Locate, consult with expert. What expert? And you did it for 7 hours? Okay, like, read and review case summaries for 8 hours. How some of this you kind of having to explain some of this here. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Allegan saying 24-hour bills including travel time. It can. And there are times where in the civil sector of law, attorneys have and you learned about this in ethics. There have been times where attorneys have double billed for clients, like client 1 and client 2. Sure, maybe. That's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that if you can avoid it, because people think you're fucking ripping them off. So that's the problem. And it looks like somebody's getting ripped off. And you can see here he made like $15,000. All this stuff here, a team conference for 8 hours. That's poor billing. You should have some information there. Order of interviews and questions for 6 hours. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Also here, like, team meeting, legal drafting. What does that mean? What were you guys doing? Like, you gotta have some information here that's ascertained, like you can understand. Team outline and timeline of actions. Fuck does that mean? Someone's reading, reviewing transcripts. Okay, that's fine. It's going to take a while to do that. Meet and interview a witness. Makes sense. Team conference and a meeting for 5 hours. I mean, you sat there with your team for 5 hours. How did they all not jump out of windows? So there's just more of this nonsense here. This one here is interesting, though. Interview and prep and meeting with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Huh. Does that mean the DOJ? Does that mean Jack Smith? I don't know. I think we probably know the answer to that, yes. And this is in March of 2022. And he did for 15 hours over the course of 3 days. Like, did he go to the U.S. Attorney? Did he go see Jack? Kind of curious. Now we're getting into the interesting parts here, okay? A team meeting, and then he could conference with the January 6th. Now, what does that mean? It appears that's the January 6th committee. And now you can see this one here. He says from March 18th to the 22nd. Or I'm saying March 18th to March 21st. So the span of a couple of days, he bills 24 hours. Okay, that makes some sense. But yeah, they're already meeting with the January 6th committee. This is for one of his trips, it looks like, where he went out. He had a very nice dinner, and then he later on went to Smashburger. He got $35 for an Uber ride. Jeez, you gotta like avoid getting on the surge pricing. $1,200 for plane tickets. Jeez, all kinds of stuff here that he's paying for, and this is where this one here says pending Hyatt place, and it's lodging. And it says, "What? Why is this one? Why this one get scratched out, Nathan? What happened there, brother? Huh? Huh? Is this where you or Fani were doing a little bit of, doing the hippity dippity? Little concerned there. Little concerned. Just saying. Just saying. And then the total. Yeah. Why don't we get to know this total? That'd be a public records request. So that'll be great. We get on to further stuff here. Meeting with the judge. What judge? Conference with White House counsel. So it's like this is all coordinated together. I mean, we all knew that, but it's nice to see that they actually are dumb enough to document. Well, I met with the White House counsel. It's just like a casino where the guy who's ferrying all the money around kept a expense account, and he was gonna bill. He wanted to get reimbursed by the mob, and the feds used it against him. It's like, yes, thank you for admitting that you're working with the White House. Another meeting with the January 6th committee. I presume he sat there with Adam Kinzinger and learned how to cry. Meeting with the judge, motion, regarding motion and research. What are they talking to a judge about? Like what's been filed? That's got me a little curious. Who are they talking to? What judge? And is a judge advising you? Is that judge involved in any of this? Was it the judge in charge of the grand jury? Gives me concern. Meeting with the judge. How many meetings do you have to have with the judge? Federal court hearings. Meaning you went and sat through a federal court hearing. Okay, well. Another conference with the judge. Preparing federal court documents. Are you now assisting the U.S. Attorney's Office somewhere? Another conference with the judge. Just keeps going. Conference with the judge. Then we get to another contract. This is the second contract. And this goes from November 15th to May 15th of 2023. And notice, that first one ended on October 31st of 2022. And now we're 2 weeks later, and there's a 2-week gap. What happened in the 2 weeks? What was being done? I don't know. So here, unlike the last one, we found out his rate, his rate, $250 an hour. He can work no more than 600 hours, meaning he cannot earn more than $150K. Oh my God. Yeah, so he's an independent contractor. Holy Jesus. And he has to comply with all laws applicable to his work. Okay. Oh, yeah. This is just 2 weeks after the other one expires, they're in this one. Okay. So, and I would point out, if the first one was a full year, and this one's only half a year, roughly, and it's for 150K, was the first one for 300 or 250? I don't know. It's not clear. We don't have it. But yes, he goes to the January 6th meetings, an attorney conference. Okay. Interview with the DC White House counsel. Oh, just, you love to see it. More meetings with this judge. Who is this judge? I'm very curious about that. Meeting with the judge. Now, is this somebody who's a retired judge? Once again, we don't know. It's not properly documented what's going on. This is the third contract here. So this contract goes from June 12th of 2023 through New Year. This is the most recent one. Okay. But there's almost a whole month. We go from, well, this one ends on May 15th, and we're starting June 12th. There's an entire gap of a month between these two. I mean, am I saying this is sketchy as fuck? Yes, I am. So his rate is, again, $250 an hour. He cannot work more than 120 hours per calendar month, and he cannot earn more than $210,000 for this batch of the contract. And signed on June 12th. Once again, we have that whole month of what was going on that month. Because remember, we're now into 2023. From May to June of 2023. And the indictments drop in August. So this is at full tilt. They're working. So what was he doing for a month? How was he getting paid? Don't know. It's not been clear. This is a thing for the... I was trying to ask around about this. That was some information from Fulton County. But we learn now, this is the interesting parts, the totals that Nathan Wade has had. So it looks like in 2022, he made about $200,000, we think. But who knows if that's legit payouts. Okay. In 2023 to date, $349,750 have been paid. Oh, yeah. This is and that's it. Now, I will say the New York Times, as they're talking about this guy, there's some concerns. And they believe that his earnings at this point are a minimum of $650,000. And it very likely could be over $1 million. Now, why is this all important? Because we get back up to the actual motion itself and what's going on here. If it loads. So, here's the issue. Willis and Wade have traveled together to such places in Napa Valley, and you're allowed to have a boyfriend. The problem is when you're paying your boyfriend and then he turns around and uses that money to go on the trip, well, that's a lot like a conflict of interest. That's really, really sketchy, especially when he uses the hotel rooms and all the stuff from the same account that you're paying into. It's just not a good look. So that is the problem here. And we get through all this, that the loyalty was never filed. And because of that, he's never been an official prosecutor, yet he ran around acting like a prosecutor. And the big thing here, and I'm glad that the attorneys here noticed this, if he was never officially a prosecutor at the time he was in front of the grand jury, that means he was a private citizen in front of the grand jury, which is illegal under Georgia law. And that's not something you're allowed to do. As a private citizen, you're not allowed to just hang out with the grand jury. If you testify, fine. You show up and testify and leave. But Nathan Wade was in there running the grand jury and orchestrating it, and he had no legal authority to be there. Well, that's a problem. That's a big problem. So the grand jury was convened and being operated, and it didn't have any authority to operate. Yeah, maybe we should get rid of these indictments. I mean, it's just amazing that Fani Willis fucked this up so bad. I mean, really, it sounds like she was running a money laundering operation, and then got so wrapped up in Orange Man being bad, she actually forgot this was all just meant to be a scam, not actually meant to be a prosecution. And she's like, uh-oh. Now she's like, oh, God, I was just trying to skim money. I didn't mean to do this. And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing these deals getting cut. Hey, Jenna Ellis. Hey, Cindy Powell. Hey, Kenneth Chesebro. We'll just give you guys like immunity agreements and like slaps on the wrist. Let you get going, get out of the way. And this thing is just going to drag on and drag on and drag on. So they do a very good job of detailing in here why he should be disqualified. And yeah, this is the point. They can't find evidence of Wade ever prosecuting a single felony trial. And that's important because this guy is Yeah, this guy wouldn't be qualified as a court-appointed defense counsel. And assuming he could be appointed, he could only get paid $140 an hour. So we'll see what happens there, but this is just, yeah. And according to these guys, and this is where I think they're probably right because it's not clear how things were paid out. They believe that Wade may have made up to $300,000 his first year. They point out like 15, 10, 10. In March of 2022, billed for 30 G's. April 2022, billed for $33,000. May $33,000. June 34. July 34. August 35. September 35. Just insane. Insane amounts. $25,000 a month. $36,000 a month. $35,000 a month. These are just crazy. And they point out they think his total compensation is close to $1 million. They think it's close to, the total compensation is $1 million. Yeah, it's going to be very tough to. Yeah. They point out that judges on the Supreme Court of Georgia only make $186,000. This is ludicrous amounts of money. This is just absolutely ridiculous. And then they point out ultimately at the end here that Fani Willis, in the way of doing all of this, may have committed RICO because she committed honest services frauds, meaning she set this up under false pretenses with the intent to defraud the state. And these multiple payments constitute predicate acts. So Fani Willis, all worried about RICO, may have RICO'd herself, technically. Now, is that anything going to happen to her? No. But it is very important. And this is the thing here, and this is where the defense attorney points out that he was present because Fani Willis authorized him to be there, and that means a member of the public was at a grand jury proceeding. We don't let the public hang out at the grand jury for a reason. But Fani wanted to, once again, I think Fani was just being corrupt and then kind of forgot, I'm just trying to be corrupt. I'm not trying to actually, prosecute anybody. So, yeah. Yeah, this is, yeah. But they point out that Roman's charged with conspiring to impersonate a public officer. They point out it could be argued that Willis conspired with Wade to falsely hold himself out as the appointed special prosecutor because he never officially was. Roman's charged with conspiring to commit forgery, and that they knowingly, with the intent to defraud, made a document in such a manner the writing was made to have been under the authority of Fani, who didn't have that authority. So they wrote out this, oath of office that they didn't have the right to execute, and then passed it off as legitimate. Yeah, this is you want to be prosecuted by a prosecutor who's not committing crimes of their own. So, yeah. It will be interesting to see what happens. I think Fani is in some deep, deep shit, and it's going to be interesting at that point. So, now I try to catch up with you guys some of your chats here, but yeah, it will be very, very it'll be very interesting. Okay, where are you guys at here? Jim says, check your Twitter for a disgusting story. I'll take a look. MLS is saying the Young Thug RICO trial is the most ridiculous thing I ever seen. Yes. And that is just a precursor. That's Fani Willis's district attorney's office. Those are her people. And that's the best they can do. Young Thug. And it's a disaster so far. Now, sure, some of that's from the defense team and the defendants and other people involved. But this is the prosecution. This is their best effort. That's Fani's A team. And they suck. So this is just it's a harbinger of what's to come. Eric says, Wade was getting paid multiple ways, if you know what I mean. I know. Yes, he was. So yes, it's her sugar baby. Yes. It's interesting, it's a sugar baby she's funneling money through. Elegant news for $1.99. Wade said I would do that big fanny for enough money. Yes. Yes. J-Bet says he also charged a bill for 24 hours work. Like I said, it's not a crime itself, but it's borderline unethical. Yeah, there are times where you might be able to justify that, but it's very, very tough. And in 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 my ethics class, our professor said, you know what? For the guy who did that, there's a couple of famous stories of it. Sure, it worked out and nobody complained, but in reality, you should avoid situations where you're doing that because it doesn't look right. It reeks of bull crap. And I mean, in this situation where you've got all this other sketchy stuff going on, it really does look like it's improper and illegal and fraudulent. Once again, on its own, if it was just by itself, you'd be like, that doesn't sound right. But coupled with all this other nonsense, it's really, really bad looking. Really, really bad. So, Allegan for $1.99 is saying the most basic is Wade has no oath of office. Yeah, it's very important that your prosecutors, have that ability. MLS says there's no grand juries in Michigan. That is awful. That sucks. That sucks. Panzer Dude is saying it doesn't matter because Trump tried to grape Georgia with his insurrection. I know. Tried to grab Lady Liberty by her pussy. Let's see here, trying to catch up. Infectious Fizz says neither one of them's tried to deny it. Well, at this point, there's nothing they can do about that. They just have to put their head down and keep going is probably the best thing they can do at this point. So, Allegan saying if he cut deals that aren't valid, either are the underlying charges. No, the underlying charges wouldn't be valid. And with that being said, I think for the defense, they would have a great argument that, for Cindy Powell's attorneys, Chesbro's attorneys, Jenna Ellis, that rat, all their attorneys, they would have the right to come into court and say, look, this guy held himself out as the prosecutor. Fani Willis said he was the prosecutor. He made a deal with us. We relied on that deal. That's the state's fault. It's not our guy's fault that these guys made a deal they weren't allowed to make. You can't undo it. And I think that's probably a fair argument because I doubt any of them are going to want to undo it because they're all getting diversion and the cases are all getting expunged. So, everybody's winning at this point. I don't think that you would want to go back and risk messing with it because let's say you come back and you start screaming bloody murder. Okay, well, now you're back in the fire with everybody else. And you don't know what that fire is going to turn into. So it's easier just to take what you got and run and sneak out with it and not raise too much of an issue. Vodka Blood says, I'll be a special prosecutor for a cool million. Yep, I would too. I definitely would too. Mike says he's a legal rent boy. Oh. Ken, how you doing? Ken is saying, assuming he was paid the $140 an hour rate, that's 7,100 billable hours. There's maybe 4,000 billable hours in a year if you work 80-hour weeks. Yeah. But there are I will say this because I worked in a place like this. You had to bill 250 hours a month. So, it gets you to, the amount of time you're just working 80 hours a week. Well, there's some places where you have to work more. Now, do I agree this guy was doing that if he's also gallivanting around everywhere? No. 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 Billy says, "What's my hourly rate?" Retain me and we'll talk about that. Eric's saying Nate Dog. His name's Nathan. Nathan. Maybe he goes by Nathan. I don't know. Billy Aoki for I think that's Singapore dollars. Bootleg Nate the lawyer. Oh. Yes, it's a Singapore dollar. Okay. And one Singapore dollar is equal to 62.44 Indian rupees. Interesting. Thank you, Billy, is saying, yeah, bootleg Nate the lawyer. I wonder if that guy could say, "This is MAGA country." Carrie says, as a video editor, worked 32 hours straight one time. And I don't doubt that there are times where that can happen, especially on crunches and deadlines. It's just when you are doing hourly work like this as an attorney, people are very suspicious in attorneys. There's a reason why. There's all kinds of ethics issues with attorneys. Attorneys have earned the reputations that precede them. And Monreza says, "This motherfucker's a hard worker." Yes. Yes. Garrett says 24 hours. Maybe he took the Le Mans. He was doing it the Le Mans method. Yeah. He had teams of guys they would tag in and out. Yes. Common Lawyer, good to see you. It's been a while. Says you got to give some more detail. Yeah, you really do. That is the most. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, there's just so much of that doesn't work. I did law stuff. That doesn't count. That does not count. SB Seller says every lawyer I've ever used is 6-minute billing intervals, and that's what I do. I do 1/10 of an hour because it's easy enough to keep track of every 6 minutes, and as far as things are concerned, and generally takes you about 5 minutes to do something anyway. So yeah, it works out. Stacy says hi. It's my favorite hotel. Allegan saying for $199, March 18th through 22nd, 2022 covers a weekend. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If you're meeting with government officials, yeah, if you're meeting with like some random Yahoo County officials, you're not going to meet on the weekend. But in the federal government, like the January 6th committee, the DOJ, White House counsel, those guys will work on the weekends and do stuff like that. They probably did things like that to keep it on the down low for low visibility. That's not a surprise at all. So D-Dialer says it's surge pricing, not when it ain't your money. That's great. Yeah, maybe I'll have to start writing that in my retainer agreements. This is subject to surge pricing. And I don't know. You won't know when it's happening. I'll tell you afterwards. President-elect Phil Swift for $4.99 says, "You just wouldn't understand, Sean. You're just a simple Ohio lawyer. And he's a big-time high-IQ Georgia lawyer. Us simpletons can't grasp it." And I guess that's the case. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Common Lawyer says, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm just a simple caveman here." Yes. Bernie says he paid via check. Yeah, I'm betting there's a massive paper trail here that's going to fuck Fani. Yeah, and that the biggest thing there is, guys, using checks. It's when you use checks, you're basically
Nigga, is you taking notes on a criminal fucking conspiracy? What the fuck is you thinking, man?
that's a check. A check is a note on a criminal conspiracy. So don't use checks. Don't use checks. Philip Kogan's for $10. Thanks, Philip. It's saying, shocker, a prosecutor is willing to use the law in a novel manner politically, but also be corrupt. Yes, and also in Georgia, in Hotlanta. Hotlanta, yes. You're telling me the district attorney of Fulton County, Georgia, is corrupt. I know. It's a shocking allegation. So. Hold on here. What is that? Pepsi Man says Fani was paying with her Fani. Hey, gas, grass, or ass. No one rides for free. Jonathan says, that's actually a good question. Can lawyers bill for pooping on company time? Well, let's say, I guess here's how I would phrase that. I mean, well, technically nowadays, I can have my phone open and I can, have up an app and doing, research on it. So I could be sitting there like reading case law for your case or typing an email. So yeah, technically you could get away with doing work while you're taking a crap. Now, would you ever phrase it like, yeah, I was pitching a growler, writing a motion while pitching a growler? No, you wouldn't do that. Not sure your client would like that, but you could technically bill on company time like that. Jim is saying, back when I was working, we had an emergency service call at the Chicago Police Department call center, and we were there from Friday at 6 until Tuesday at 2. I paid double time for all of it. And that's fine. There are situations where I understand that's going to happen. Once again, it comes down to the issue of by yourself, that's not a problem. When you guys have been involved in writing the contracts, and then the person who wrote that contract is then sharing in the spoils of that contract with you, and there's all this other corruption and going along with it, that's where we have the problem. So that's where we have the problem. So let's see here. All right, guys, we caught up with that. Yeah, I don't know. Now, the next thing is Hunter Biden. I know people were making fun of Hunter Biden. He did show up at the House Oversight Committee and the House Judiciary Committee this week. He did show up and was out in the hallways. And in response to his subpoenas where he was told he was going to be held in contempt if he didn't show up, everybody's sitting there saying like, oh my God, it was such a power move that he showed up. Not really. I mean, he showed up and he sat in the back. And then once they started talking shit about him, he left. Which, what does that really get you? Like, is that the power move when you're walking away? I don't know. And then I will say there are some concerns about things that are allegedly going on. Last Imperial says, you leave 2 stacks alone. Yeah, poor little 2 stacks. Panzer Dude says that's why I'm not being paid the big bucks. I know. Oh. Yeah, that's yeah. So, there are some things going on with Hunter, and this one here, I've seen this picture. I'm not sure how true this is. Like this one here, there's an allegation he's been spotted traveling with a U.S. Marshal. I mean, he's entitled to a Secret Service protection detail, so I don't know what this is about. I don't know if this is even a true picture. I wouldn't read too much into that yet, guys. I wouldn't read too much into that yet. That's something people brought up, like what's going on. But I will say the funniest part of all was when he showed up to Capitol Hill this week, and the reporters are just giving him all kinds of, just gave him a whole ration of shit, and he had to take it. There was no lashing out. I mean, that was the beauty of it. He was kind of stuck with it. And this whoever did this is a good man. Because you can't beat this. I might even make this a sound clip for the board. Well, I don't have a soundboard, but you guys know what I mean. This is just great.
Would you please, I'll answer your question if you be quiet and let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Would you please, I'll answer your question.
I mean, yeah, what kind of crack do you smoke? That is important. You know, is he going to say, like, I only smoke fair trade, GMO free crack? What kind of crack does he smoke? That is important to know. You know, there's crack dealers out there be like, man, I hope he smokes. I hope he says, you know, he's like, I hope he says my name. He's like, I only smoke crack from, you know, Little Fissy's crack. That's the only kind I buy down in Anacostia at the Naval Yard. I'm hoping that, you know, whatever his crack dealer is, like, come on, man, give me that PR. Give me that endorsement. So there really aren't other kinds of crack. There's just crack. Yeah. It's not like weed where you got like AK-47, Bin Laden, Deep Purple. No, when you go buy crack, you're like, what is it, man? It's just crack. There aren't other kinds of crack. It's just there isn't designer crack. This is being consumed by people who don't have teeth and steal copper wiring out of walls. They're not that discerning. So that's why Hunter I think Hunter wanted to look. Yeah, Hunter's like, that would have been great if he turned around and be like, listen, you casual, there is no such thing as kinds of crack. It's just crack. You know, like Hunter's screaming at all the casuals out there. Actually, there's only one kind of crack. Or Hunter would say, there are two kinds of crack. The crack you pay for and the crack you have to get on your knees for. He says, I prefer to pay if I can avoid it. Oh. Yes, cage-free crack. Yes. Yes. No steroids in the crack. Oh. Oh, I'm showing my ignorance. Apparently, crack people are the new coffee people. Is that what's going to happen? The Juan Valdez commercials are going to be him with his clothes are all rent. His clothes are all ripped and torn, and he looks like he's rolled around in piss and mud for weeks on end. He's missing all of his teeth, and he instead of his mule behind him, he's got a crowbar and a shopping cart. Is that the new symbol of, you know, Juan Valdez out there? Oh. Anything goes. We have a crack sommelier here who's saying crack only comes from one neighborhood in Detroit. Everything else is sparkling, smokable cocaine. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, why do I bring this up that Hunter showed up? Yeah, sure, he's sitting there. What's he going to do if he were to be actually in the house, actually said, hey, come on up here. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. That literally was what that would have turned into. So him being there, I just, you know, that was a hilarious move by him, but I think in the end it's going to backfire just because Hunter's an idiot and the fates don't look kindly upon him so far. I mean, look at the trajectory of his life overall. The fates have literally taken a dump on this man every chance they can. So I don't know why he wanted to tempt the fates, but hey, that's what hubris does. Hubris be as it is. Now, he did appear in court for his tax evasion charges today, and he entered plea not guilty out in LI. So he pled not guilty, but it is interesting, a June trial date. specifically June 20th, 2024. Those of you keeping notes at home, that's in the middle of the election season. And the Democrat convention for 2024 is going to be August of 2024. So August 19th to the 22nd of 2024 in Chicago. So right on the eve of the Democrat convention, Hunter might be going to trial. Now, is he really going to go to trial by then? No, it's probably going to get pushed back. I doubt anybody's going to. It's just like Trump's case. Things might get pushed back and put on the back burner. There might be a continuance set up in there. So this is just going to drag on for Biden as well. Yeah. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see Hunter there, his updates. We have, President-elect Phil Swift for $4.99 says, yes, I need like an ascot and everything, and like the Thurston Powell hat. Yeah, yes. Oh, yes, Muffy dear. I only smoked the vintage 1983 crack cocaine. Oh, you can taste the notes of the CIA ravaging urban communities across the U.S. when the smoke hits your lungs. Oh, yes. Muffy darling, put on the Hall & Oates record as we get on the yacht. Oh, yes. Yes. I can taste the vintage. I can taste the faint notes of the prison industrial complex. Oh. Oh. That's my trying to sound like I live in Nantucket and have a yacht. Justin says, "Well, now I want some crack." That's what happens. That's what happens. That's why you don't use Instacart while you're hungry, either. Mofolk says, "Dang it, going to Rumble. What happened on Twitch? Did they kill it?" Garrett says he only smoked crack through a school to prison pipeline. All right, fair enough. All right, guys. Next thing up, we're gonna run through the rest of this real quick here. Sarah Boone, America's sweetheart. Well, her attorneys have filed a motion. And no, the updates don't involve Sarah writing a schizo letter anymore. That's actually all quiet on the Western Front. Things must be going well. But her attorneys have filed a motion. She is set to go to trial at the end of the month, and there's a pre-trial on the 16th. Now, this is all going to get pushed back. Why? Well, they're seeking a mental health examiner, and they're also seeking an expert to prepare a defense. And how do I know that? Well, they're seeking appointment of because I can read this, and they're seeking a mental health expert, and a fact investigator, and for approval of other costs, meaning they're getting ready to put on a defense. So, yes, that means they're going to need some more time. And that's not uncommon, okay? So they want a mental health psychiatrist or psychologist or an expert or a similar expert, and an hourly rate to be determined by the court. So the expert is absolutely necessary to Sarah's trial and to protect it and her rights. And it's the right to mount a complete defense. And you have the right to mount a complete defense. They're going to require the services of a forensic mental health evaluator or an expert that can help them to review certain evidence and make a detailed scientific examination of the evidence. So the qualified mental health expert gives them the needed skills and expertise the lawyers don't have. Because I'm a lawyer, her attorney's a lawyer. I'm not a mental health forensic examiner. I can say, yeah, I have an idea on some stuff, but I can't do anything more than that. I have the basic understanding of things. So they're also looking at it that she might be able to help perform the crime scene reconstruction in this case. Okay. So they want to use, and I don't know if that's Linda with 2 N's, but Linda Duray. She's a PhD, licensed mental health counselor. I don't know what NBFE is. I don't know what that means. And then a certified forensic mental health examiner. Okay, I know that part. She's an expert in this case, in ongoing investigations, to provide testimony at the hearings and assist in jury selection at trial. It's not necessarily that she's a jury selection expert, like people were looking for in Kyle Rittenhouse's case, but she can help that attorney say, like, here's the things you need to look for. Try to get jurors who are going to agree for X, Y, and Z. So she's been qualified multiple times and in diverse circumstances in and out of a courtroom. She's testified as an expert in crime scene reconstruction, jury selection, and other situations that have required her qualifications. She's been a practicing psychotherapist in Florida and in a total of 11 states across the country. So that's impressive. She does have some expertise, and she's been allowed in numerous jurisdictions. And we get to the issues here. The area's potential defense, battered women syndrome. And while we're on that topic, you can find over at the at potentially criminal over at Teespring, you could find the Sarah Boone collection. And yes, as we're talking about the battered spouse defense or the spattered blouse defense, yes, there are a couple you can get. You can find that over. The link should be down below, but you can find it there. Just wanted to bring that up real quick. Let's get back to this now. Domestic violence, personality disorders, battering husbands, infidelity, and alcoholic blackouts, among other things there. So they're going to need to hire her. And she's going to have to work at an hourly rate or a flat rate, all based on the numbers of hours worked and what she's expected to do. And the issue is she requires an upfront retainer in the matter. She's not expecting to get paid all at once, but she probably wants at least, half up front or, maybe a third up front. I don't know what she normally charges, but she's going to want a sizable amount of money up front, and they don't have it because Sarah Boone has no money. So in this case, you petition the court for the appointment of an expert, and the court's going to grant it. Now, I don't think the state's going to oppose. The state's fine. I'm assuming the state's looking at this saying, you can get 1 million experts. We have proof she killed him. And yes, because she talked to the cops, it very much looks like she killed him. So they're probably going to say, yeah, do whatever you want. We'll still prosecute her and put her away for life. So they talk about the miscellaneous costs, that they'll seek approval for certain costs, such as transcripts, before ordering them, as required by the policy required for indigent defense. They'll keep specific approval regarding expenses from the court before conducting any out-of-state travel of the expert, because she's not here, which is not anticipated. So they're going to say, like, look, Judge, even if you grant this, we're not just going to start spending money because we don't have money to spend. And, anything like transcripts do cost money because the court reporter has to type them out. And they get their shorthand, and then they translate it, and they go from there. So they want to point her at a rate to be determined by the court to include various costs and expenses at the hearings, and to determine a cap on expert fees and costs. So that way they can figure out what's going on. Maybe they can't afford her. But this is from her attorney, and it was submitted recently. It was submitted January 2nd to the Justice Administration Commission. Now, this is the people in charge of doling out the money. And we remember from Sarah's attorney earlier, they were fighting. So this is going to turn into a fight. It's probably going to drag on for a while. So we're not going to have the trial then. Because even if we were going to have the trial on the 29th, the state has the right to see anything Sarah puts together for her defense. And they're going to need time to consult with their own experts. So this is going to get pushed back a ways. We're probably in the summer sometime. So that is the updates for Sarah Boone. Yes, as I said, everything's quiet so far. She has not done anything crazy. Yes, over on Locals, Brimstone saying alcoholic blackouts, aka by weekends. Yeah. Oh, D. Marie says yes. Nathan Wade could loan them the money. Garrett Pace says she packed her bag last night, pre-flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m. D. Dyla says, isn't this the lady that stuffed her man in a suitcase? Yes, and then she watched him suffocate and filmed it. Yes, this is Sarah Boone. Stacy says they better pay $250 an hour. Yes. Scam Likely says spattered bouse at the criminal. Garrett Pace says battered women? No, thanks. I'm doing keto. JXC says click Boone. She's a certified luggage expert in stevedore. You guys are horrible. You guys are horrible. So, yes, that is the update for there. Let's see, where do we got so far? All right. Yeah, we got kind of the last thing. I know it's already been talked about what's going on. Yes, the stevedore unions. Yes, Frank Sabaka and the head of the stevedores out of Baltimore Harbor. You know, a true union president. So, you guys remember from last week the guy who hopped over the bench and started attacking the judge in Las Vegas? Well, he was sentenced back in court, and he ended up getting sentenced for the underlying case that he was up for initially. And I know you guys, you guys didn't get a chance. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I do want to cover it, though. I know everybody else covered it, but you know what? I'm covering it. I'm doing it my way. So this is what happened here. He ended up going back to court. And see, this is what happens when you act a fool in court. They treat you like an asshole. He's got a spit hood on. He's got on the non-punchable gloves. He's fully shackled. And he's got a bunch of deputies around him. And I guarantee you, they told him, if you act up, we are going to stomp a mud hole in your ass. So, yeah, I'm sure, he wanted to say, fuck that. He wanted to fight now. It's like, well, we'll fight. So, here he is.
Mr. Almaci's here now. Good morning. All right, this is on for the continuation of Mr. Redden's sentence.
Notice they got everybody's like, they're not playing games no more. There's full security. Why? Just they don't want families, nobody causing problems.
When we were last here, arguments were concluded and the court had begun to pronounce sentence when an incident occurred. An incident initiated by Mr. Redden preventing the court from completing sentencing. That is the sole purpose for today's hearing. Any other issues that may...
Now, this is I said I didn't expect Judge Holtis to do it, but she's here doing it, and that's fine. It's not improper. Would I understand if she said, hey, I don't want to do it, this looks bad? Sure. But she's here doing it. Apparently, she really wasn't severely injured, so good for that. That was her just recounting on the record why they had to come back, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is a standard thing, saying, oh, we were, somebody pulled the fire alarm, or somebody got sick, or something happened. So now she's going to pass sentence, and she's just finishing up where she left off.
May arise from the events that occurred last Wednesday will be handled at a future date by a different court. For purposes of the record, I want to make it clear that I am not changing or modifying the sentence I was in the process of imposing last week before I was interrupted by defendant's actions. I am making my calendar page from that day an exhibit for the court. As it existed, the moment I walked in, prior to anything happening, nothing's been changed, indicating the sentence I intended to impose.
That is interesting. She did that, saying, look, I was already going to impose the sentence. This is what you were going to get already. And I have, her personal calendar, which I'm not sure what was in that. I don't know if that's been redacted at all, if she had other personal things in it or what, I assume if there's other cases and things, that's probably been redacted out. But just to say, look, I was going to do this. This is what you were going to get. She's trying to show that there's no improper bias here, unlike the other court, unlike his indictment. But we'll get to that.
I'll agree with that for a moment. All right, that being said, in accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court does now sentence you in addition to the $25 administrative assessment fee, $150 DNA fee, the $3 DNA administrative assessment fee, and $250 indigent defense fee, 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. How much credit for time served does he have?
It's 0 days. He was on probation when he committed the offense and was revoked on probation to serve the jail time October 25th. That time it expired at about the time of the plea. So
0 days credit. Mr. Almasi, if that's different, let us know. We'll fix it.
I will.
The motion to quash by court is moved at this point. And for the record, I just reflexively wrote 0 days credit time served on the notes because of what I just said. So that is an addition as of right now.
that's correct. The probation case number, just for the record, is C370.
So that's it for him. 1.5 to 4 years in prison. Looks like Nevada does indefinite sentencing. And yeah, now that guy, every time he goes somewhere, he's going to be designated a massive security risk anytime he's ever in custody. So even when he goes to prison, if he's transported, he's probably going to be, at least for the next near future, heavily shackled, spit hooded. He might be wearing those the rock'em sock'em gloves. Yeah, so brilliant luck there. Brilliant thought process. But since then, he's received new charges for attacking that judge. And this here, I thought this was completely ridiculous. But let's
Hello. Before we handle his case, in anticipation of me appointing the public defender to represent him, there are multiple media requests. There were multiple orders that were signed in initial appearance court. I have amended several media orders to amended orders yesterday. There are some new orders that I need to rule on of media that.
Well, here's the thing, guys. We don't need to talk about the media nonsense. I want to see him actually. We'll get to the part of him actually talking about the charges.
Kennedy Holthus will not appear on any of Mr. Redden's appearances. However, the team chief has assured me that Kennedy Holthus will not Mr. Redden's appearances. Therefore, I see no reason to recuse. However, I make those disclosures under Rule 2.11, Comment 5.
Oh, I forgot about this. There is a.
Her daughter is a deputy district attorney on my track. However, the team chief has assured me that.
So the judge who got attacked, her daughter is a deputy district attorney that shows up in this courtroom. It appears that they've worked it out. She's not going to be in the courtroom when this guy's here because that would be improper. It'll be improper for her to prosecute a case against somebody who attacked one of her family members. So the judge is putting it all on the record. These are the things going on. I'm going to make sure, I've made sure that it isn't going to happen that way. And I think that is a good thing to get on the record. I worked in Toledo, Ohio, for example, and in Toledo, Ohio, one of the judges was married to the prosecutor, the elected prosecuting attorney. And that is a conflict of interest on its face. Doesn't mean it's an actual conflict, but that looks kind of sketchy. So what would happen is if you got assigned to that judge, you had a right to say, I want to go to a new judge. And the judge who, when you're in front of him saying, hey, I'd like to go in front of another judge, he'd say, like, I totally get it. No problem. If you wanted to stay with him, though, you had to sign, and this is something the Supreme Court of Ohio had to work out and put together. You had to sign a waiver acknowledging I can't claim on appeal conflict of interest issues. So, and sometimes he was a good judge to have for certain cases. But it is something of note that this is going on because, how does that all work out?
That Kennedy Holthus will not appear on any of Mr. Redden's appearances. Therefore, I see no reason to recuse. However, I make those disclosures under Rule 2.11, Comment 5. Mr. Redden, have you been given a copy of the criminal complaint this morning?
Yes, I have been given one.
You're being charged with count 1, attempt murder, victim 60 years of age or older, a felony.
Okay, attempted murder. Did he really intend to cause serious bodily harm or intend to kill that woman? No. And because of her age, this is the district attorney running up the score, which is bullshit. Did he savagely assault her? Sure. Is that felony assault? Sure. Is it attempted murder? No. But they're going to use this to leverage him hard and get him to plea out to something. But that is a bullshit charge.
Count 2, battery on a protected person resulting in substantial bodily harm, victim 60 years of age or older, a felony. Count 3, extortion by threat, a felony. Count
And see, that's the thing, though. Is the judge protected because she's a judge? No, it sounds like because she's over the age of 60. And in Ohio and every state, if you attack someone who's 60 or 62, you generally, that's an elevated crime because now you're attacking an elderly person. So yeah, that one's a fair one. Yeah, you hit somebody who's older, and it's clear she's older. The extortion one, though, was he really trying to get her to change her mind? Once again, I think that's kind of a bullshit one they're tacking on.
4, intimidating a public officer, a felony. Count 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all battery on an officer, the same name victim. Oh, and by the way, I do not know any of the other victims named in the criminal complaint. Those are all felony offenses. Count 10, performance of act or neglect of duty and willful or wanton disregard of safety or persons of property resulting in substantial bodily harm or death, a felony. Battery on a protected person, count 11, that's a gross misdemeanor offense. Count 12, battery by a prisoner, a felony. Count 13, unlawful act related to human excrement or bodily fluid, a felony. All allegedly occurring on January 3rd of 2024. Do you understand these charges? Can you afford to hire a private lawyer at this time? I'm sorry?
I'm trying to.
Can you afford to hire a private lawyer of your own expense and choosing?
No, not at this time. No.
Are you a veteran or a member of our military?
No.
I can appoint a lawyer from the public.
The reason why they ask if you're a veteran, there are courts that have veterans dockets and the resources. They engage you with the VA and try to help you get resources available to you. There's generally state laws that those things are made available to veterans. So that's generally why they always ask that. But yes, they're going to point the public defender to him, and if he spat on one of those guys, yeah, this is how he couldn't, you got to control your shit. He went buck wild and now he's fucked on top of everything else.
Public Defender's Office to represent you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And prior to Your Honor calling the case, I did, as a friend of the court, talk to Mr. Redden about his right to a Valdez-Jimenez hearing. I know that he did not have one in initial appearance court. However, he's going to be choosing to waive the prompt hearing given the circumstances that happened yesterday in district court where he's already been sentenced in his other case.
Okay, so he was sentenced?
Correct.
Okay, was he sentenced to jail or prison?
Correct.
Okay.
1948.
Okay.
So he understood that and said that he's not trying to have the hearing today.
Okay, that's fine, and I'll canvass him on that. My only issue is I think what has happened is some standard bail figures have carried over since booking. So by the time
so he's facing a lot of charges. Do I think that's a bunch of crap that they've run in the score up on him? Yeah, that is awful and horrible at that point. That was just ridiculous. So Baby Huey wants him to move. Oh, I'm sure those guards, those CERT guys, the response team guys that are standing with him would love nothing more than to start beating him senseless. So scam likely, yes. He will not enjoy prison, stalker. Listen, child. Yes, Stephen Cooper has been a member for 1 month. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. He's saying, yes, it is BS. It is also fuck around, find out. Also, yes. And I don't disagree with that, but D. Dallas saying he's in a blue robe. Oh, the judge? Yeah, some judges wear blue. That's not, it's been a while since I've seen a judge wearing a blue robe, but that's not uncommon. They wear like a very dark, like Prussian blue. That was a very light blue. Normally when judges wear robes, it's like a dark, dark blue. But that's not uncommon. I think Rehnquist wore a blue robe. So it's not uncommon at all. DeMarie says, I won't want cameras with this judge. Yeah. Chaucerian fraud saying, even if reality they were honorable and there was no conflict of interest, the appearance of the conflict is enough for an appeal. It would be, but that's why they're saying, like, look, you're not going to bring that up if you're going to stay here, because that's the argument they're making there. Sphere says she's still wearing her high school graduation gown. Jeez. Mr. K said he did say, I'll kill you. Yeah. Yeah, still. That's remember, when you're the prosecutor, you have a duty to seek justice and administer it properly, ethically, and fairly. Was that really attempted murder? Was he really gonna kill her? Was he really trying to kill her? Because it sounds like she suffered very few injuries. Like, come on now. It is not attempted murder. The state just being assholes. Bernie says these people always attempt murder, Sean. Fair enough. Fair enough. Common Lawyer says it's not a covered legal news story until it's the Sean covered story. Thank you. Jay Bet says, whoa, we hit an old lady too? The judge. The judge is over 60. So not only did you attack a judge, you attacked a judge who's elderly. So now you're getting charged with striking, a judge, a person as part of a court proceeding and is protected because they're a judge. You're also now getting in trouble for striking an elderly person. So, yeah, let's say the judge was physically disabled. In Ohio, that in almost every state, that is a separate aggravating offense. You're attacking somebody with a disability. So, oh, Nick is on right now. You guys are saying that, but I thought you meant like, why is he on this early? Really? Oh, he's on with the steel toe guys. Oh, okay. Huh. Jay Bet says battered a prisoner. No, he committed battery as a prisoner. Now, typically, yes, if when you're in prison custody, anything you do is elevated. For example, typically, if you kill someone and you're in prison or you're in custody, that's elevated and generally is a severe, aggravated, or first degree type of murder. Battering someone while you are in custody causes some issues there. D-Dial is saying the state's overcharging to get a plea. I think they don't give a shit. They're willing to take that one to trial. It's going to be easy money, so they're not going to lose. So, Chaucerian Fraud says the VA has shit for resources. Sure. Scam like this is from Buck Wild to Buck Broken. Patty Ann says attempted murder to me, and here's the thing. I understand that. Just to me personally, I'd be looking at that if I was the public defender, and you got to meet with the prosecutor. You like doing a pretrial later. You're like, if I was her, I'd be like, look, Frank, come on, this is bullshit, and you know it. Plea him out to the felony assault and the attacking an elderly person, and let's just get him on his way. He's already doing 4 years. He's going to do a bunch more. This guy's probably going to fuck up in prison on top of that. Just let's get it on our way. Scud says, hey, yo, why ain't no one ever finna attack a judge to stop their sentence? I know, that's some Galaxy Brain talking. Why are you guys talking about vet lawyer or lawyer vets? So lawyer dog is different than a vet lawyer, right? No, I meant like they would if he's a veteran, they have like veterans dockets. They can get him in touch with resources because he is a veteran. Now, that said, though, there are typically, when the courts have those set up, if there are attorneys in the area who are veterans, they try to have them there as well, and like as many people involved in the process as a veteran, because they understand and have been through similar things that person may have gone through. So, why don't I agree that's attempted murder? I mean, when you fucking want to kill, like, you'll go and kill someone, like, you can fucking try to kill him. He wanted to jump over there and beat her, and, you know, he didn't get far into it. I don't think he intended to kill her. His actions would show somebody trying to kill her. Causing serious bodily harm, sure, but that doesn't necessarily make it attempted murder. That's an overcharge. You could just charge it as severe felony assault and probably get away with it. So, a common lawyer says, if the public defender felt like the guy fucked up bad and now had it coming, does she have a duty to recuse herself and allow a new attorney to defend him zealously? Yeah, he would, but I mean, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with saying, like, if you got appointed, if you were the public defender, or let's say they called me up and said, hey, Sean, the public defender can't take it. Will you take the case? Okay, I come in. I could sit there and say, wow, he's an idiot. And he, you know, this isn't like it was completely unprovoked and he did all this. That doesn't mean I can't zealously represent him, but it's just being honest about the situation. Now, yes, if they really don't feel like they could defend him, sure, that would be a problem. If they're going to sandbag it or they're not going to work that hard because fuck him, yes, that would be something they should bail on. If that was the case, what they would do, I'm assuming that's a county level public defender office. I'm sure whoever's going to be working with him has already been told, if you don't want to do this one, you know, you don't have to. But generally speaking, public defenders don't do that. They go hard in the paint for your guy. They go hard in the paint for their guy. That's not a problem usually. So even let's say the boss came in and told that public defender that, I doubt that ever becomes an issue because the public defender's like, no, boss, I got this one. I'm going to help him. I'm going to do what I can. And I would argue, generally speaking, if you can't just do that and just be, you know, if that's not your mindset, then you shouldn't be in a job like that anyway. Because let's be real, most people have screwed up. They have done something dumb. And that's just the nature of it. Most people who do stuff, like, they snitch on themselves, they get caught in the act, or they're doing the thing. So, that's just a common thing there. Robert's saying that's weird. He could have killed her. I have zero doubt. He could have. He could have done a lot of things. He could have raped her. You know, are we going to say that was attempted sexual assault as well? And getting them granny panties? Where are you guys at here? So, Winter Soldier, yes. As he jumped over and he's on top of her, Puncher's like, I hope we make $1 million, Judge. Yes, that's the thing. Robert Lawrence says, I want him out on the streets. That's exactly what I want to happen. I want him out teaching Sunday schools. That's what I want him doing. I think people should be properly charged, and then you deal with the case from there. Overcharging someone doesn't help anybody in the interest of justice. So we started an hour early. Okay, yeah. Nick's up in my kitchen. Shut him down. I ain't letting him touch my food. I'll tell you that much. You think I'm going to let him eat my food? Oh. President-elect Phil Swift says for 199, judges be crippin' like in that blue gown. Respect. Yeah. Yeah. Show up in the court. Judge is like, all rise. Yeah. Some blood show up in there and be like, this is a Crip courtroom, son. It's like Keefy D and the Tupac murders. Like, this is for the Crippin'. This is Crippin', son. Crippin' ain't easy. Oh, let's see here. Dude hurdled the bench. I said, I sound like a pit bull owner. Justin Smith said he literally said, I'm going to kill you, bitch. I understand that. But merely saying I'm going to kill you, and if I say I'm going to kill you, and I start punching you, there might be times where you have a reasonable belief I'm causing serious bodily harm or possibly imminent death. Maybe. But remember, words alone aren't enough. It's words and the actions and the totality of it. Was it truly attempted murder? I don't think so. So, Pike says you have to meet people at their level. Oh. Jim says, don't forget to check your Twitter DM. All right, real quick, guys. We're about to wrap this up because it is 11:45 and we got to start the after party. Let's see. When is... Holy shit. Holy fuck, Jim, I need to like read up on this. We might talk about this tomorrow night. Oh, lad. Woo. Holy shit, Jim. Yeah, I'm gonna. Ooh. Ooh. So, Nick will lick my entire kitchen. Oh, don't do that. He'll sassily eat my Doritos. I don't want that either. I'm the only one sassily eating. All right. Oh, Stabby says, Bernie, you're doing the Lord's work. Keep it up. Well, yeah. Charlie says, why don't you share with the rest of us? I need to read through it first because there's a lot to take in there. But holy shit, this is bad. Garrett says, more Pringles cans? Yeah, no, that's... All right, guys. Well, that is it for tonight. Thank you for all being here. 273 people still hanging out. Thank everybody here. Rumble Kick. I think it's all working. Twitter locals, here YouTube. Over in locals, guys, we're going to be starting up the live stream in a minute. We'll be hanging out. So if you guys want to join us, it's over there, potentiallycriminal.locals.com. We'll be hanging out doing the after show. We probably, like I said, probably going live tomorrow night because there's a this thing from Jim, and among other things, there's probably enough we could still talk about and hang out. The mall story. Okay, yeah, so some of you guys know what it is. Other than that, guys, just enjoy your weekend. Well, it's Martin Luther King Day Monday, so remember that if you have a job where it relies on the bank holidays, so it's closed. Like there's no court Monday. And before we get any too much further, I wanted to also remind you of our one of our site sponsors, simplystrungtogether.com. You can get all of your fine handmade jewelry needs there. Simplystrungtogether.com using the promo code potentiallycriminal, 10% off store wide. So before we go, I wanted to put that out there. I will see all of you guys next time. And remember, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. Even if you jump over the bench and attack a judge, still innocent until proven guilty. Good night, everybody.